Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Toon Review. It has been a while, a little bit of a break, but welcome to everybody tonight for our transfer show latest news. Pretty much they're going to take over the live shows for quite a while, of course. News definitely starting to pick up today. We will get into it very shortly. Tonight, I am joined by Stato after his return from Poland and Billy Bob after his weekend kip. How are we, guys?
Good evening to all the Toon Review Massive, Magpie Massive, and you fantastic people in Viewerland.
Right, let's get straight in, shall we? Because Anthony Elanga, reports broke today that we have had a £45 million bid turned down for the player. Now, I have to say, I don't think he's worth more than this. Just my opinion. I think there's better players out. If we're going to pay more money, then there's better players out there for that kind of price. But I'm intrigued to know what you guys think. Trevor MacDonald has been with us for exactly a year. So Trevor is celebrating a year's membership. Thank you, buddy. Good evening, TTR family. Toon, 1 year part of this awesome family. Thank you very much, Trevor. Billy, we'll start with you. Elanga, 45 million turned down. I mean, would we go back in with 50, or do you think we should walk away now?
I would hope we'd walk away now. I think 45 is the very ceiling of what you'd really want to pay.
Yeah.
Highest value, I think, that we'd want to pay. So I think we can get a lot better for a lot cheaper, to be perfectly honest. Certainly more value for money. So, yeah, I don't want to be kind of held hostage by Nottingham Forest turning down bids for one player all summer, like we did last year with Palace.
Yeah. Interesting. The thing is as well, Alex, we, similar to James Trafford as well, I think Elanga has a sell-on clause to, I think it's 20% as well to Manchester United. So that's why maybe they're up in the fee as well, just like Burnley are with Trafford. What's your thoughts on the 45 getting rejected?
Well, I'm going to say apologies to Tobias Darling from Sweden, because I think we should walk away as well. I've made it no secret that I like Anthony Elanga. I think he's a good player. He's got some interesting attributes. I think he's more than capable of being a Premier League player and more than capable of being in a European side that's playing in either the Conference League, Europa League, or possibly the Champions League. But I think there are some question marks. 45 rejected. I would imagine we're going to have to go 55 plus to get this sealed, which for me is a massive overpay for somebody who statistically, or based on XG and expected assists, was around 10-ish contributions. He got more than that. He got 17, but I'm gonna base it on the data, which is what you tend to level out at, even if you have a good season, unless you're at an absolute anomaly. So 23 years old. Yeah, he's young. He's not quite what Anthony Gordon was when we first got him. He's not a pressing monster. He's not English. He's not part of the setup, which I guess doesn't really make much. It doesn't really make much of a difference that he's not English, because he spent a lot of time at Manchester United, at Forest, in the Premier League. So he's kind of, he's got the experience. I just don't think he suits us as much as a lot of other players we've been linked with in certain styles of play. And I think it's vastly overpriced. There's a lot of names that have been floated around for, I mean, you guys know that Toon from Celtic, the right winger, who's apparently going to Leipzig for 15 mil. Yeah. I think that is ludicrously cheap. I think at a minimum we should match that bid and just see what they do. Match the 15. And if he fails as a signing, it's only 15 mil. It's what we paid for Will Osula. It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter as much. It still matters, but and then there are a lot of other ones, your Bakayokas, Akliushis. There's a load of them, but they've been bandied around, sort of 25, 30, 35 mil. We're looking at going beyond 50 here. We need to buy other players in other positions. We've got other recruitment we need to do. Now, walk away. Walk away now for me. And we could all be wrong. I think all three of us agree with each other. We could be wrong. He could sign and he could be amazing. But I'm just playing the averages here. And I'd rather be risk averse with this, because this is a really big window for us. We need to get this right. I'd walk away.
Billy Keith Downey did state earlier on that he believes that Newcastle 45 was as high as they were willing to go for Elanga. Forest apparently wants 60 million. Now, if that's the case, there's a player at Palace who I would snap the hands off for 60 million.
How
and
much?
that's Eze, 60. Eze at Palace is reportedly available for 60.
Again, Eze is not really that right wing side, though, is he? He's more of a
I know, but
to 10 or whatever. But I like Eddie Howe at Dortmund. I mean, he's been linked today. I think he'd be an excellent kind of player.
He's very left-sided though, Billy. But yeah,
yeah, but he can play up front as well, can't he?
I mean, look, there is players who, Keith and various other the Northeast journalists have mentioned that there is 3 or 4 other players that we're particularly looking at. But I don't want us to get into another bidding war for a player. I would hope that the club have learned lessons from the Gay situation. Thought, right, if Keith's right and £45 million is our limit that we're willing to go for Anthony Elanga, and they've said no, then we say, okay, thank you, but no thanks, and walk away and go and put on another target. That's what I would hope would have happened here. Because there is other players out there for less than what we've actually bid for Elanga, who, like you say, Alex, there's some talent out there that maybe we should turn our attention to.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm confused by the timing of this because I was expecting maybe this to happen in the final few days of this month, so that we could maybe take advantage of a PSR situation or a PSR related transfer, helping other clubs tidy books. We win as well. What's the date today? The 24th.
Yeah,
seems a bit odd. It's a bit early we've clearly got no problem with slapping a big fee in this year's PSR cycle.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Alex. This basically confirms that we have got money available. As people are saying,
100%.
July for obviously next year's finalists. But if we're slapping in a bid that size now,
100%.
Obviously,
yeah. I mean, we all theorized it was going to be delayed until July, but no, you're right. If we're going to put 45 on the table, that's going to go in this year's books, then all bets are off. We could have bought. We could have bid for whoever. Does it matter what order we do this in? Whether we go centre half, right wing, goalkeeper first? I don't think it does. So it's a bit weird. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of how we are conducting transfer business. I've not been for a while, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. Just in terms of how delayed everything is, how public everything is. We seem to be constantly airing our dirty laundry. It feels many moons ago where we made like the Bruno signing that just seemed to come out of nowhere. Everything to do with us now is just constantly in the public eye, and I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's poor.
Bill Moore says, surely you wouldn't start bidding at the most you are willing to pay for someone. Yes, but Bill, we've already bid for him, remember, last year. I think it was 35 we bid last year, wasn't it?
Bid the same.
We bid 45 last year.
Did we bid 45? Did we? Oh, I thought it was 35.
But
they've just recruited some wingers as well. Nottingham Forest have just bought someone in as a winger. I think they might have even bought more than one. They might have even bought 2 wingers in. Yeah, so they're clearly anticipating a sale.
Yeah, interesting. Kat, who's been a member now for 9 months. Thank you, Kat. Fantastic show. Keep it up. Emma, a member for 8 months now. I'm not panicking about the transfer window just yet. The PSR thing, go and then spend. Hi, TTR crew and family. Well, like we've just said, Emma, I don't think it's anything to do with PSR now, because why are we slapping a 45 million bid on a player now? If it was anything to do with next year's finances, we'd hang on, surely. Chippers, a member for 42 months. Thank you, buddy. Thing is, this bid could unsettle Elanga. Andy with a super chat saying, evening all, not long been back from seeing Guns N' Roses at the shithole that is Villa Park. Well, Sam was there last night as well. Excellent night, though. Walk away from Elanga, in my opinion. And he sends another one in saying, from Andy and Joe. Look, I think the general consensus in the chat, Billy, is that we should walk away from this. All 3 of us are agreed. It's too much. We valued him at 45. Forest want 60, apparently. I mean, he's nowhere near 60 million, in my opinion. I mean, is that something to do with the same as Trafford, Billy? Is it the same to do with this 20% sell-on fee that obviously they have to Newton Heath?
Could well be. I mean, they turned it down last year on deadline day.
Yeah.
But he's a year further on contract-wise now, unless he's signed a new one, which I don't think he has. So, contract-wise, he'd be cheaper, or should be than what he was this time last year. But it doesn't seem to matter. 60 million? Nah. Well, you can get much better for your book than that. A lot better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a one to keep an eye on. No doubt stories are going to start coming out thick and fast. I mean, do you think, Alex, this is the trigger pulled to get players in? I mean, we're all waiting for end of the month and start of July, but is this the trigger now pulled that we're going to start inquiring and putting bids in for players?
No, I don't think there is such thing as a trigger. I think the trigger is the fact that the window's open and we need to recruit. It's not that we've thrown this first bid down. If anything, this has just kind of proved that we are not professionals and we are not in the know. We are just fans, because it's very difficult to explain, the first 10 days of June and the rest of the second bit of this window so far. It makes no sense to, I think, most people. A lot of people expected the Mark Gahey bid 2 windows ago to be the trigger of something, and that never amounted to anything at all. So
yeah, absolutely.
The only faith I've got is that Jacob Murphy is the only recognised right winger at the club. So I have full confidence we'll recruit a winger, 100% confidence in that. And then I have moderate confidence in the fact that we'll recruit a goalkeeper, and then a little bit of confidence that we'll recruit in another position.
I think the goalkeeper
I'm
will
not
happen.
super confident.
Yeah, I think Trafford will sign.
I think we'll get a striker.
I think Trafford will sign.
You think we'll get a striker as well, Billy? I mean,
I think we have to. I mean,
there's reports of there's links to strikers. There's links to centre halves like Scalvini. There's links to goalkeepers. There's links to wingers. Like, that's a lot of money. If all these players are all like 40 to 60 mil that they're all linked with, like.
I think we'll definitely sign a striker, no doubt. But we can't just have Isak and Asula. I'm talking now as if Callum Wilson doesn't re-sign, which looks like he isn't going to.
I think if Callum Wilson was going to re-sign when the first report, yeah. Toon Assassin is not pleased with the way we're going. Let's bid for players for the same amount and get rejected again. The Newcastle transfer strategy.
I mean, it is a year on.
Fair, so. Yeah, his contract. It's a year further into his contract. I don't know when his contract ends.
I think
so the bid is a higher value bid in theory.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I mean, a lot of people are, questioning the transfer strategy and trying to work out what is going on, things like that. It does seem that Newcastle United, well, listen, we've had quite a history of doing this, is taking with time over transfers. With Newcastle, they don't tend to happen within 48 hours. You look at the signings that other clubs have made during even this window, and they've been quite quickly done and sorted. I mean, why do you think we have that long spell of transfers, Billy, when we it takes ages before we announce a player?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's taken ages. It took us 3 transfer windows, really, hasn't it?
Yeah. But even when we know a player signed, it takes like days before they actually publicly announce it.
I mean,
do you know what I'd like us to do?
Go on.
I'd like us to see if we can do a loan to buy on, not a loan to buy, a buy on Trafford and then loan him back to Burnley. Because do we realistically need a goalkeeper to be a brand new goalkeeper in right now, or this season coming up? Could we use Dubravka and Pope? I think we could use Dubravka and Pope for all of next season, and that would be fine. And then Trafford could be loaned back to Burnley for the year, and then we can pay whatever it is, 35, 40, if it goes that high, next year instead. And then we can front load some money into priority positions this window, because I don't think the goalkeeper is too much of a problem immediately, and it means we've got a plan in place. Then Liverpool did it with Mamardashvili, to be fair.
Yes, they did. I think there'd be a bit of, amongst the fan base, I think there'll be a bit of agreement with that, Alex, and a bit of disagreement, because I think some people think that Nick Pope is a risk going into next season, and they would love Trafford to come in and just be the number one and start the season and be number one for years to come.
It's about priorities, though, isn't it?
I have to say, absolutely. And this is
and
where...
And Murphy being the only right winger, I think, is a bigger priority. And then Isak kind of being on his own. Like, let's say, God forbid, Isak gets like an ACL or something really bad. We've then got Will Osula as the only recognised striker in the club for a Champions League beefy season. Oh, that's that is massive. No way. That's going to be.
I don't think loaning back Trafford to Burnley is a good idea personally, because as what happened last time, they have a poor defence Premier League wise, and he got on the end of a few conceding goals.
You're going to get
confidence to go in the shit house.
But the thing is, our squad at the moment, at this present time, is threadbare. And I think we'd all accept that. Going into the season that we're going into, it is threadbare. So
not with goalkeepers, it's not.
No, goalkeepers aside, absolutely. However, what I'm trying to say is, if we're going into a season next season that we know is going to be a lot of games and a lot of stress on the squad, and rotation is going to be needed. So you would think that we as a football club need to bring in at least 4 or 5 players. So it's got, and I said this on the news videos, is it going to be like a bus where you don't get one for hours and then you get 4 or 5 all coming at once? Newcastle just suddenly go through a few days of announcing signings, because I'm looking at the squad and I'm thinking, it ain't big enough to cope with what we've got next season, and have lessons been learned from the first Champions League season where we were crippled with injuries and the squad was threadbare. We need players in the door. And this isn't me panicking that we're not, because I still think we will sign players, but we need the right players. And the right players are not necessarily going to be cheap. And we've got to do things properly. You know what I'm trying to say?
There's interesting scenarios that we could look into. I mean, I still think the Celtic one makes sense. Why don't we offer Celtic Sean? Say, look, we'll give you Sean for 15. You give us Kuhn for 15, and then we're all square, and we make good profit off that. We could loan them one of the youngsters. Like, we could throw one of the young ones that's coming through to Celtic for a year. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I know their standards a little bit higher, but there are ways we could try this. I mean, Steve mentioned earlier today in the group chat about maybe seeing if they want the sells, if Forest want the sells in this Elanga deal, seeing if we could make something work there. There's definitely avenues to be explored, and I just think the goalkeeper,
Alex, that the club are actually doing what you've said there. Maybe hopefully they are looking at different avenues we can go down.
Because we've not even talked about outs. Like, we've not really had any. I mean, since I've been away, have you guys talked about any transfers out? Is there nothing? Because we still need to get rid of some. Like Isaac Hayden's still at the club for another year. Sean is what? Sean just going to sit on the bench all year?
Well, Sean's been talked about with Everton again today.
Today? Okay.
But there was the Leeds United apparently are still keeping an eye on the Trafford situation, because it's reports are saying that if Trafford does make the move to Newcastle, Leeds will try and coax Pope away, because obviously they can guarantee him first team football and things like that. Whereas not necessarily.
People trying to tell me that Kuhn's going to Germany. Yeah, I know that Leipzig have bid 15 mil, and I think that is our trigger, or someone's trigger to go and match it.
Yeah.
If they're saying 15 is his valuation, this is a guy that absolutely ripped up Scotland and performed really well in the Champions League. He's like 25 years old. A left-footed right winger. 15 is a steal. It's an absolute steal.
I said that on the news show, Alex, when he was linked again. I said we'd looked at him in transfer shows, and I can't believe that a player that good is 15 million quid.
I'm shocked that nobody from the Prem's not picking him up, like a Bournemouth bid. Bournemouth have got loads of money. Chuck 15 at him, it's weird. Something obviously not right. But
maybe he wants to get back to Germany. Maybe he's homesick.
Possibly.
Well, yeah.
Doug from the Dugout channel. Good evening, pal. He says, Sky was saying Bakayoko, Kudos, Adeyemi are right wingers that have been linked. Yeah, Keith Downey mentioned those three. I mean,
Sky have been funny the last couple of days. They did a Mark Gahey article and didn't mention us once.
No, they didn't. No.
Not once, which was negligent.
Baz Down Under says there, acting like do you think there is an element of not really acting like one of the big boys and we still got a way to go with, the way we do things? Are we seen as not I don't know.
We're not allowed. We're not allowed to be anything more than what we. It's simple and straightforward as that for me. When clubs can kind of bully you with transfer fees, what are you supposed to do? You can't just break the rules. Or if you want to do it, you can, but it doesn't do it any good to do it.
Yeah. Well, so some clubs do, Billy. We know they do. And get away with it.
Some of these clubs seem to get favourable fees. Like a lot of these Man City transfers, I think, are really reasonable values. Like Cherki and Altnuri and stuff. I think a lot of these fees are quite tame. Rangers as well. They seem to be getting them. They're not challenged for this, but as soon as we look at a player, they just slap 60 over it. Whereas Man City can walk up to these players and they get them for 35 to 45. It's weird. It's really, really weird.
Steve, they're saying we've got a small time mentality. I mean, some people in the chat are saying, look, if we want to be one of the big teams, you've got to go and pay the money for the big boys. I guess that's right in a way, but again, it all depends on what we have to spend and what positions that Eddie Howe is targeting. You're right, Alex. He's got to target a right winger. That is probably the position that we all know needed, without any disrespect to Murphy, but needed an elite player there. We've got it on the left-hand side because Barnes has proved himself for me. Gordon's still here.
Yeah. I mean, that's non-negotiable, the right wing, but I'm not a huge fan of everything that's out there at the moment. Well, I'm not a huge fan of everything we're being linked with. I would prefer sort of the Akliush and Kuns of the world and Rayan Cherkis, but I think the club, I don't know, I feel like he wants to go for as close fit as a Gordon as he can get on the right.
Premier League proven, basically, isn't it? Mostly.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we just need to spice it up. I don't think you have to go that way all the time. Do we have to have a Barnes and Gordon on the right? Or could we go somewhere else?
Yeah. Steve's saying, Howe is a top-class coach. He's not a scout, and neither is his nephew. Billy?
I mean, I don't know what his nephew's experience is, so I
don't know either.
He might have some scouting experience.
I think Eddie Howe would know a good player if he saw one. I mean, I think that's unfair.
Well, yeah.
I don't think he necessarily has to be a scout to know a good player. I think you're right, Billy. I think Eddie Howe has been in the game long enough and has been, and especially with what he was doing when he wasn't, out when he was out of work or once he left Bournemouth, he did a lot of touring, didn't he, and work and spent some time with some very, very good managers out there. And I think he does have.
It's not just that. I mean, he's learned by his mistakes he made at Bournemouth in their relegation season. Some of the signings he made there off his back weren't great.
Well, I think he signed them for development reasons, and then half his squad just got injured, and they fell through the trapdoor.
No, he spent a lot of money on Jordan Hart, didn't he? And people like that.
But I don't think he can afford to do that with us, Alex. That's the thing. If he's doing that with us, looking at players to come in and develop, and not wanting to pay the high transfer fees. Is that a risk?
He should already been doing that, really. Or the club should have been already doing that.
Well, the higher the transfer fee, the riskier it is. That's why I prefer the Kuns and Akliush kind of transfers, because if it goes wrong, you've paid less money for it, so it's not as much of a gamble. Whereas if you're paying, I don't think Elanga's a sure thing for how we want to play. So,
interesting. We got Denveril, a member for 6 months, returned from riding my Harley to Croatia and back. Bloody hell. Looking forward to catching up with the Toon review. Disappointed not got anyone in yet. I'm impatient. Channel Right, it's Willock we need to tout to the other clubs. Peter, a member for 26 months. Thank you, Peter. The problem I see is no one wants us to do well, hence the immediate rule change to stop us. And I'm afraid no one is going to help us out. And Eric Amaral with a super chat as well. Thank you, Eric. There's no comment there, but thank you very, very much. Now, obviously, we'll talk about Scalvini as well, Alex, because he's been heavily linked the last couple of days. There is worry because he was out a lot of last season due to an ACL injury. So if he was to come in, we'd then have two centre-backs with ACL injuries or previous injuries. Would that be, is it a risk for Scalvini or is he? Three, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So would it be a risk for Scalvini? Or do you think he's young enough, he's overcome it, he's a quality player?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a risk, but it's...
I mean, I'd love him, to be honest. If I'm openly honest as a fan, Scalvini is absolute elite for a 21-year-old.
He's a centre-half, so I think there's less risk compared to if it was a winger or something. But yeah, there's still going to be risk. But Scalvini, obviously, his price isn't going to be quite as high as it would have been had he been playing all this time, because I think he did his shoulder in as well and was out, which is an anomaly. You know, you don't always injure your shoulder. It's one of those things. Jacob Murphy did it and struggled. But he's up in that bracket of players that could have at that time just gone and signed for like Man City like straight away. I think he's up there. His data from the season he was playing is elite. And he's an absolutely fantastic player. I think the fact we've got Tonali in the team would definitely help, because Italians moving to the Premier League has always been a bit of a weird one. The fact that we've got a successful one, I think, is massive. So, but he would be top dollar. He would still be really expensive, even with the injury and the fact he's not played a lot, because everybody knows he's like an amazing centre half, and he's like 21. He's still only like 21, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, 21. Eight full appearances for Italy.
There is not a chance in hell you're getting him for any less than 40, 45. Not a chance in hell.
God, no.
It'd be likely more than that as well.
So, however, Atalanta have stated that they will rebuff any approach for.
Well, they've just lost their manager, so they are rudderless. Or they might have replaced the manager, but don't think they have yet.
I think the Southampton manager, the ex-Southampton manager, took over for a while at the back end of the season, I was reading. So, look, money talks at the end of the day. Atalanta, I mean, come on, we know that Serie A's not full of money, and if they get a decent bid, they would have to see.
Well, we are in the Champions League as well, so there is good pull.
Yeah,
from a player's perspective. So for development and playing in the top league.
What's your thoughts on Scalvini, Billy?
Yeah, excellent potential. I'm a bit worried about the injury record. It's not just his knee; he's got his other injuries as well, hasn't he? But he's a 21-year-old kid. You know, he's plenty of time to sort of get it sorted out, and he's got a lot of potential to fit into, and he's already a fantastic player. So, yeah, absolutely outstanding signing for us if we get him.
Yeah. Emma, tell me you're on the wind up here. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Maxi back. Really? Where would Maxi
I'd have done it if the option was available in the first year that he went, but not now. He's been gone for far too long. We've developed to there's no way.
I never thought I'd hear Alex say those words, He wouldn't have his hero back.
Oh, well, he ruined his career by going to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, God, no doubt about it.
He was a 26-year-old that was hitting his peak and had managed to stay injury-free for a while and then just disappeared to Saudi. So it is what it is.
Yeah. James Morrison, a member for 29 months. Thank you, James. Says, I would rather go spend 35 to 45 on Elliott over Elanga, and Scalvini is a risk worth taking. Dave Bannon, a member for 4 months. Thank you, Dave. Every signing is a risk. No bigger risk than signing Callum Wilson for another year. Well, that's not a risk. That is just an absolute crime if that happens. Niall has been a member for 23 months. Thanks, bud. If we are targeting a lot of Premiership-based players, we won't get the sufficient amount of players to improve the squad. Kuhn, Diamande, Chevalier, and 3 more. Johnson Street, a member for 7 months. Thank you. I think we need to make a statement signing for the right side of central defence. Is that Italian guy really that special? Yes.
He can easily be. Yeah, he can be. He can be one of them elite centre halves that we've seen from Italy over the years. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think he is. Anyway, just an interesting report came out today. I mentioned it in the news video earlier on about Aston Villa and the state of PSR. Everybody expects them to have to sell this summer due to PSR. But a financial expert has said that that's not necessarily going to be the case for Villa this summer. It may be next summer. However, the Champions League money they got, the extra revenue from home games, the £53 million profit they made on Duran. So the thoughts are that they're not going to be as desperate to sell as we first thought, guys, which impacts us if you believe that we are very interested in Rodgers.
I'm not sure it's Rodgers we're after. I think it's Ramsey.
Really?
I'd prefer Rodgers, but yeah, no, I agree.
I prefer Rodgers, but I think it's Ramsey we're after. I think it's a cheap version.
But it's so Villa not necessarily going to be in a panic to sell leading up to this PSR deadline, apparently.
I don't know.
We don't know.
Financial people know, to be honest.
Well, it amazes me how so many people know. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Do they?
They got a lot of revenue last season, but you know, it doesn't necessarily.
99% of what comes out in this window is going to be wrong and is wrong. We can categorically tell you it's wrong already.
Yeah.
99% of these links and rumors are not true, and the transfers are not going to happen. So it's just about wading through the absolute nonsense and trying to make educated, logical guesses. And even then, it's really tough because so many different options.
Mancunian Way, good evening. Please, Rodgers, more sell on for us. That's how you make money.
Although I did get called out by this Mr. Mancunian that I'm not giving facts. I stated the values that Man City paid for their 3 signings this window that I referenced. Like that is facts. I just stated the values that you paid for the players you just bought. You let Scott Carson go as well. So no, go sit on the naughty step. Can't let Scott Carson go. Just keep him on. If we've got to keep Gillespie, you have to keep Scott Carson. That's how this works. Everybody's got to have one.
He also says all abroad. That's where the value is.
Yeah, but we don't seem to do that. So
I don't know why. I mean, can anybody come up with an answer as to why? I mean, yes, the players that Keith Downey has mentioned today are abroad. Maybe it's
It's so weird that the spine of our team is all foreign and recruited through foreign leagues in like Botman, Bruno, Tonali, Isak.
Yeah,
and then we've just decided to U-turn and we're just recruiting English players or Premier League proven.
I wonder what the catalyst to that was.
Would you like to explain to the viewers what you mean by that, Billy?
Well, just that we had a sporting director, technical, whatever you want to call them, kind of in charge of recruitment. And now we don't, and it seems like we're shopping in Aldi as opposed to Harrods, I guess.
Harrods.
Yeah, but that was Ashworth that did a lot of that, and it was also a lot of that was pre-Ashworth.
Some of it was, yeah, definitely. Bruno was for certain, wasn't he?
So
who was responsible for Bruno?
Probably Nixon.
Nixon. I mean, I've got good faith in Steve Nixon. I think Nixon can spot a talent a mile away. I really do.
Doing it for years.
Yeah, and I would have no problem. But I don't know whether there's conflict behind the scenes. And I was thinking about this today, you know, with Mitchell leaving and things like that. Is there a little bit of conflict as to where we go for these players? Because Eddie seems set on bringing players in from here. But maybe other people want to look abroad, and there's just this is just me speculating, by the way. There's nothing serious in that. It just seems to me that, you know, Eddie's very much focused on bringing players in, not necessarily English players, but players who have, you know, been in the Premier League a while and have actually got Premier League experience, rather than taking a risk of bringing players in and having to bed them in again. You know, like you did with Bruno and Tonali.
If they're Premier League proven, then it's less gamble on his part, and so it's less stress on the manager. But you're getting more for your money abroad. So it's weighing the talk for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can get. Well, I know you can get proper decent talent in Europe or wherever that's going to flourish in the Premier League. No doubt about it.
Yeah,
but it seems to be lazy that you're just going to go for the Premier League proven ones and having to pay more for it. It's to me, it's to throw your eggs in one basket and use that is mental for me.
Yeah.
All of our best players last year were not Premier League proven when we got them. All of them. Lewis Hall was not Premier League proven when we got him.
Yep.
You know, who else was there? There was Isak,
Ben
obviously.
Premier League proven.
Well, he was to a degree at Southampton. But, you know, we bought Isak. That Isak was a massive risk. He'd only ever scored 16 goals in La Liga. You know, Tonali was not Premier League proven. And Italians notoriously didn't seem to be successful. Murphy. Well, yeah, there's an argument to be made that Jacob Murphy's absolutely not Premier League proven in terms of his output and his record. So, yeah, I mean, Paul McCarvey, have you say your name? Sorry, buddy. Dan Burn is probably the only player that really fits that criteria, as he was Premier League proven at Brighton, who had a really good year last year. That's probably the only.
And Trippier, probably.
Trippier, yeah.
We brought him from abroad, technically.
Rufiad Benisian with a super chat. Thank you very much. Kuhn and Milo. 40 million pounds for the pair. Milo attacking midfielder, can play right wing, ideal rotation option for Bruno. Left forward plus pace plus an eye for goal. Monaco reports say they want 60 to 80 million for Akliush.
That's not going to happen. Good luck with that then.
See, this is the problem. You know, this is exactly what we're talking about here, is looking at these players and trying to work out our own valuation of these players to what the actual clubs who own the player want for them. And this is where the difficulty comes in, because we probably value different players differently to what Newcastle United do, and certainly what the clubs that own them do. So it's incredibly difficult, because we have to get the right players in. This is, like you say, Alex, this is a huge transfer window for us. So the players that come in the door, they've got to be right and ready to go straight away, because this is a massive season coming up for Newcastle United.
And that is why Eddie Howe wants the Premier League proven players.
Yeah. I mean, that is a fair point.
But we need to go. We're in the Champions League again, and we don't want to be one of these yo-yo teams who has a good season and gets in the top 4, then disappears down to top 8 again, and then back again. If we want to establish ourselves as one of the big names in England, then we need to be up there challenging every season. We've already accepted that, and that's where PIF has said they want us to be. That is the main goal, to be number one.
This is what Villa just did. Is Villa threw the kitchen sink financially at trying to have a strong season and do well in the Champions League. And they nearly did it. They weren't far off, to be fair to them. They did get quite fortunate with Duran just scoring like an absolute freak and them getting a really good value for him. That was very fortunate for them. You could argue it was good recruitment, but he was just an anomaly. But they did throw the kitchen sink at that project financially and did fairly well. You know, are we going to be able to do as well as they did? Because I think they did brilliantly. They recruited very, very well. Every signing they bought worked fairly well for them. Even Rashford, you know, Asensio worked really, really well. And they looked really good in the Champions League. They held their own. They looked strong. And they very nearly qualified for Champions League in the league. They were good, but they weren't far away. So we have to do that, but a little even better, which is an enormous task. So this transfer window has to be sublime. It's got to be sublime. So I can see maybe why we're taking the time, because we've got to do this right. This has got to be bang on, and it's hard. It really is.
Well, I'm not sure what Caretaker's point is here. We're not interested in 99% of the players mentioned. You don't know who we're interested in. When have we said we are?
We're just commenting on what the journalists are saying we're linked with. We're not saying...
Yeah. It's called discussion, Caretaker. That's what we're doing. We're discussing it as a show with you guys out there. We don't know anybody who Newcastle are interested in. Nobody does.
He's chatting absolute nonsense. We're just going, like
baseless rumours. So the £45 million confirmed bid for Elanga is a baseless rumour. Come on. No, it's not. Jesus Christ. I mean, they're not big.
Making a lot of noise, mate. Making a lot of noise. No need for it.
Yeah, there is, obviously, we know that there is a lot of players linked with Newcastle United who will never play in the black and white.
Can we talk about the Sunsu?
Yes, I was just coming on to that. Sunsu. Now, something tickle your testicles there, Billy?
Just the way you said that, to be honest.
Sunsu is, he's a Korean, I believe, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Plays in the
South Korean. That is an important distinction.
All right, okay, yes, yes. For our international friends across the world, we don't want to upset anybody. Hello to all the people in South Korea. It is the second division of South Korea, so this guy isn't expected to come in and take the world apart straight away. And to be honest, there's not a lot we know about this guy because I don't think we can safely say that many people have watched him play.
Mm-mm. Yeah, we were having this conversation.
The second division K-League is highly broadcast across the world.
Yeah, we were having this conversation before we went live. And if any of you say that you've seen him play, I call bullshit. If any of you have watched the K-League 2 for fun, I don't believe you. Unless you're Korean or you live there, I don't believe you. I've got a little excerpt if you want me to read a little bit about him.
Well, why not? I mean,
I don't even know what his name is, to be honest.
Sunsu!
Sunsu Park or Park Sunsu.
Right.
I can never remember which way you're meant to pronounce the.
Jisung Park was Park Sung Ji, was a.
It probably just get called Park.
I think Park is the family name.
Yeah.
I think that's how that
works.
Let's
not even try and offend anybody, Alex. Let's just move on. Because we may be highly wrong in that and just offended half of Korea. So South Korea. So let's get into the player, Alex.
No chippers. It's not from the Jamaican Observer. Actually, it's according to KNT Football.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a few media outlets reported this, by the way, not just one.
Well, the first one to break it was top Korea journalist Seo Hong-jung. Has reported that Newcastle United look set to sign. So they're saying that we're basically going to sign him. That's his name. What do you want me to do?
It's
Ho Jung.
Yeah, but sorry, Alex, you have to try every single foreign.
I don't know
every single foreign name you try and say, but then you come out with that, and it's just not like you, because when you're trying to say Italian names and Spanish names and stuff like that, you know, you're so sort of into the sort of accent, but then you pronounce like you make Hong sound like that's the
Ho Jung.
Anyway, a Korean reporter, a South Korean
reporter from KNT Football is reporting that we are looking set to sign him, which is a big statement. 18 years old, 6 foot centre forward, who plays for the Suwon Blue Kings in K-League 2. It kind of makes sense with the trip in pre-season as well.
It does,
to be fair.
Yeah.
And then we are going to face the K-League All-Stars in South Korea at the Suwon World Cup Stadium. So, it's got legs or wings for the Blue Wings. We'll have to see. So I am going to have to do some more digging before we have a proper look at this guy. I've watched all of the clips associated to that are on all of the articles, but it's not a lot. So I'm going to do some proper digging, because if there are channels talking about how good he is, I think it's too early. I think it's nonsense. We need to do some proper research. You can't watch a kid from 6 minutes of YouTube and say that you know what he's like. So we'll do some proper digging. Apparently he can play on either side, up front, and he's played for the South Korea under-20s.
There was a couple of highlights. There was a couple of highlights on I saw today of him. And he looks like a classy little player, to be honest. But this is
he looks like he's got quite a delicate touch for a 6 foot striker. He's he's fairly agile.
I have to say, Alex, on the clips I saw, he did not look 6 foot, man.
No, he doesn't move like he's 6 foot. He moves like. He
doesn't look 6 foot.
Oh, he is. Well, I can't confirm that he is, but
I don't think he is.
Everybody says he is.
I just I'm not saying anything more because I will get wrong and into trouble. But he is not 6 foot. Anyway, Ashley Renarde with a super chat says, "Will the 45 million drop off if not spent by the 30th?"
Don't know.
I mean, if they want to put the money into next year's accounts, they'll probably do it somehow anyway. I don't really think we'll know regardless. But
Dave Bannon with a super chat saying, "If that's what we are wanting to do." How it, guys? I mean, that was a joke. You can at least give him a smile for the super chat.
Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, there you go. But you're guaranteed that probably in a couple of days' time, Chelsea will be interested in him.
I just think there's a massive gap in the market because Heung-min Son is about to. Well, he's over the top now, isn't he? The Spurs player. Hong-Sun-Min, whatever. Yeah. So this new kid could be the next one on the book and could be a massive.
Well, funny enough, in the article I read today, he was saying he is the next Son.
Of course,
but I think that's just because he's bloody Korean. Caretaker's back saying, "All I'm saying is that people are knocking the club when in reality we don't know what's going on. I don't see how that's so out of order."
We didn't say that, did you?
Well, that's not what you said. But fair enough.
You wrote something different there.
Yeah. If you put that as your original comment, then yeah, that's fine. I understand that. And we're not knocking the club, by the way. We're just wondering what is, like every other Newcastle fan is, we're asking questions about when are we going to go for it? Are we, what is
Well, I said I don't like how we're conducting our business so far this window. I'm not happy with it. And that's my opinion, and I am allowed that. This is,
as a fan, everybody's allowed that. Yeah,
that's subjective. There is no black and white, and with transfers, this is the part of the season where Paul is right. Everybody isn't allowed an opinion about a transfer because you never know.
Yeah, well, you don't. I mean, look, Newcastle may pull out the bag a couple of players that have never been mentioned all summer, none at all, no links, and nobody. And maybe that happens because sometimes it can, but I would, the likes of, Keith Downey, etc., the Geordie Journos and that, these guys know the stuff, then they will have contacts. So they're not going to put out rubbish all the time because they'd look silly. And I don't believe Keith Downey or any sort of Northeast journalist is into doing that. You had Craig Hope and Luke Edwards going at each other a few days ago, but they'll have different contacts. It's other journalists that tend to wind us up a little bit, like the Southern media or the lesser known media outlets that are just trying to link players left, right, and centre. So you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. But all we do on here as a football fan channel is we see the reports that the media are making and we talk about it. That's why I put the videos out to discuss it with you. That's why we do the live shows to discuss it. It's nothing to do with us knowing what's going on at Newcastle because we have said many, many times on here, we haven't got a Scooby-Doo what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know. But what we do know is we can talk about things and talk about player links and see if, how the players would fit in should they ever sign. And we know that 95% of the players that are mentioned will never sign, but some of them will. But it's just, I said it in a video a few days ago that talking on these sort of channels is just like what you would do in a pub before the internet was here. People used to talk about in the pub what was written on the back pages when the reporters were putting links to players. You talk about it with your mates in the pub. That's all we're doing on here. We're not harming anybody. And damn anybody that keeps putting comments in saying, "Oh, you're influencing a fan base." I mean, Christ on a bike, man. We're not influencing anybody. We're all sensible grown-ups. You know what I mean? But there's certainly nothing wrong with good-hearted discussion about the club you love. So, yeah. Anyway, I like coffee with a super chat. We're also playing in South Korea in pre-season. Sunsu will help us get more supporters there. I don't think we'll have a problem getting. I don't think we'll have a problem getting supporters to the ground. I think the fact that the Premier League is so big.
But this will help massively. If we've signed a young rising star from South Korea for the tour, that's great.
Yeah,
it's a great move.
I wonder if Jesse Lingard will play for their All-Stars.
Well, he plays in South Korea. He will. He will. Why? Of course he will.
Well,
unless it was crap. And he might. How did he do? I don't even know.
Do we really care?
That man existed.
I mean, talk about a guy
He's
who threw his
32
career.
now.
Yeah, but talk about a guy who threw his career away. I mean, Jesus wept. And he could have been a Newcastle player. He could have been a Newcastle player.
I don't think it was his fault that he wasn't a Newcastle player. That was
No.
fault, wasn't it?
2 seasons, Jesus. He got 4 goals and 2 assists.
Great.
I don't know if the season's still on. I'm guessing it's not.
What a fantastic all-star he'll be.
Yeah. Brian says, damn it, wrong channel. I thought you were in the loop. Laughing emoji. Venomega says, well, Paul, to be fair, you are clearly influencing Chelsea's transfer policy. Yes, well, I think that's more Alex than anybody else. So, yeah. Todd Bowley is a big fan of Alex. I'm surprised that Chelsea haven't offered Alex a job. But I just expect Sunsu to be linked with them in the next few days.
Just to make everybody feel better, Jesse Lingard's FC Seoul finished 7th mid-table because there's only 12 teams in the league with 0 goal difference. They didn't do very well at all.
I don't think he'll be in the All-Stars team then, somehow.
Well, Keith says
here that
Lingard was terrible in career. He got dropped after his manager criticised him for not trying. Irish guy did a big piece on his a few months back.
Yeah, did he? He's not done very well.
Oh, Todd's in the chat. This is my favourite Newcastle United channel. Well, it would be, Todd. Yes. However, Todd, what I would like to say is, all these players that you have signed on the back of our recommendations, then surely you should be throwing some big commission our way because we've helped you bring in a lot of players to Chelsea, you bastard. Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine Sunsu signing? I mean, the chance that would be, it'd be incredible. And you could imagine Sunsu scoring and the sort of the announcer, I mean, Sue would just be banging off the vibrator around the stadium. And I mean, Billy, you're chuckling. Why are you chuckling to that?
I don't know where you're going with it, to be honest.
I'm just saying, I have no idea, actually. I'm just saying that
it's another young, promising, rising star to add to the collection with Pivas and Cordero. We're slowly building quite an interesting younger setup. So they might not all work. Garan Cole's doing a lot better as well.
Yeah, Cadero's having quite the tournament, by the way.
He is indeed.
Mr. Penalty, and the plan is he still got through.
Well, yeah. And even if some of these don't work, you would imagine we'll turn a profit on most of them. So it's good business.
Billy F, I will not be reading that comment out because we've had problems in the past, Billy F, and you know why with the gentleman sitting below me and Alex.
I hope he turns out to be a dog's bollocks. I really do.
Oh, there you go. He's just been waiting for that. Look, I don't know what you guys think. Who the first signing will be or what position. I mean, the reports are banding around
probably
again
South
tonight.
Korean lad, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but that's not for next season, though, is it?
No.
This is the problem. We're bringing in all these quality younger players, but not for the now. We need the now to happen. Is what we do. Foxy says a lot of games are left with the Korean season. Still a couple of months left to go.
Yeah, it looks like it's one of the leagues that splits in 2 because they've got a top 6 and then the bottom 6 in a different colour. So maybe it splits.
Lyon have been relegated, guys.
Oh, what? From
financials?
Financial stuff.
Romano's just reported it.
Oh, in that case.
All right, hang on a minute.
Probably
let's go raid Lyon. Man City with insider information there. Sorry, I'm going to upset the Mancunian again. That's not.
Now, there is some players at Lyon who will probably want out now. I'm probably right in saying that.
All right, hang on a minute. Let me get the Romano news up, and let's get the entire squad of Lyon up right now.
Yes,
Alex is on one now for the last few minutes of the show. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Let's get the whole squad up. Hang on, I'm going to turn my VPN off so I can actually see pictures of people. Might go a bit janky for a minute. Carry on.
That's interesting. Like Simon Falmont says, John Texas just sold his Palace shares so he can stay with Lyon and for European football.
Something's obviously gone on there, Billy. So something's obviously, they can appeal it. Apparently, says Just Andy. Well, I mean,
right. So there is Romano's tweet. Official Olympic Lyonnais. He can't even spell them properly. It's Lyonnais. It's not just Lyon.
Alex, will you get off your bloody donkey's horse?
Hey, pronounce it properly. What's the point in rules if we're not going to use them?
Well,
the club has the possibility
says
to appeal
Lyon.
the decision. Yeah, but not everybody says Olympic Lyon. He's done half of it, right?
Nobody says Lyonnais.
Anyway, never mind. Let's see. I want to see who plays for Lyon.
It's been relegated. Right. Here's the squad.
Well, I can't see that. Okay, there you go.
I've zoomed in. So they've got Mikhail Tadze, the Georgian guy who went there off a really good tournament.
Malik Fofana, we were linked with last week, by the way.
Yeah.
There was media reports in him.
Thiago Almada, that was in, I can't remember where he was. He was in the MLS, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Matic is there. Colin Tolisso, we've looked at him previously. Veretout there. What about defenders? Oh, Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Maitland-Niles is there. He did well for them, actually.
Kalatakar's linked with Sunderland.
Niakate is a decent player.
He was a Forest, wasn't he?
And then some goalkeepers.
Yeah, we'll not look at goalkeepers, Alex. Let's stay away from them.
There's some interesting players in this, to be fair.
Here's
it's going to be a fire sale.
Lacazette as a reserve striker. No?
He's about 48, isn't he?
Lacazette is definitely... he's old. No, he's 34. Okay.
That's not old.
He's older than Callum Wilson.
He's fitter than Callum Wilson, though.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, his stats are really good, to be fair, but I wouldn't take him back in the Premier League now at his age. I think that's a massive risk. Thiago Almada's an interesting one. I've not really watched him a lot. I don't know how good
I'm sorry, Malik Fofana is also a player, by the way. He had a breakout season last year, Alex. And he wasn't a regular either, by the way, but his stats were fantastic. Super chat from Peter Garthwaite saying all these kids will never see the light of day.
One of the Fritzels, you know. Of course, I'm 90.
Jesus, Billy. What the hell?
Of course, I'll see the light of day.
You can't say that.
I didn't hear what he said, and I'm not going to ask what he said.
Oh, please, God, don't. Anyway, what my point is...
Malik Fofana stat matches Gordon and Barnes quite closely, which is interesting. High progressive carries, 20 years old. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a fire sale, definitely.
Well, there'll be a lot of players there who will want to leave Lyon. But, I mean, obviously, I think they will appeal it. I mean, they're not going to sit there and go, yeah, we'll take a punishment, slap on the hand, and relegation. They need to be in the top flight, Lyon. I mean, the financial.
Well, but Bordeaux was in a historical club, and they just got thrown in the bin.
Well, they did get thrown in the bin. Literally, they got relegated.
Well, it's up to Juventus, up to loads of
Andy Carroll to try and help them out, for God's sake. I mean,
who, by the way, is now a free agent, ladies and gentlemen. I did see some comments on social media said, "Oh, bring him home." I mean, having a laugh. Come on, no, definitely.
He's 36.
No. Yeah, he's done now. Well, maybe not for a lower league team. He's still. I mean, he's scoring plenty of goals last season, wasn't he?
He doesn't even have his Bordeaux seasons in FBref because it's
so far down the pyramid. I kept trying to find them on FotMob last season when they were playing to see how he was doing. I couldn't find the league.
It's not on the league. No, it's not in there.
Because it had like Ligue 2 and then Bordeaux's name on there on the fixtures, and then they were always crossed out. Then you went to the league below, Bordeaux's name, crossed out.
Yeah, the websites are pretty trash for that. I've still got my old Football Manager save for Rupel Boom, and they're like 6th division in Belgium, so it's a nightmare actually trying to follow them.
And where are they now, Alex, in your Football Manager save?
In the top flight, in the Belgian Pro League.
Wow. I'm not talking about
Carroll to Lyon. Is Carroll just going to go and help all the French clubs in
all
League?
The French, yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be. I'll tell you what, he'd do a job for them in League 2. Anyway, that is the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But you're guaranteed that the news is going to start picking up towards the back end of this month. So expect us to be going live and videos etc., coming out very rapidly from the channel. Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for your super chats and all your memberships, etc. We are going to give some prizes away on TTR Friday this week, so you have to be a member. So hit that join button, guys. Please do give it a like if you've enjoyed tonight's show, and of course subscribe if you're new. We are heading towards 40k, guys. The big party when we hit 40,000. So please help us get there by subscribing if you are new, but make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show, and it is free to subscribe. Check the website out, thetoonreview.com, for all your Toon Review merch, t-shirts, mugs, drinkware. It's got all sorts on there. And of course, thank you to Mamaroo Records for continuing to sponsoring the channel, based in Whitley Bay, for all your music needs. But if you can't get into the store, check them out online. That is pinned at the top of the description. And of course, please keep voting for us in the Football Content Awards 2025. That is pinned at the top of the show's description. It tells you what's the word I'm looking for?
Category.
That's the one. It tells us it tells you what category to put us in. You fill a form out. All the judges will be looking at that, etc., etc. So what you put in really matters this year, as to how well we do. So please keep voting for us in the Content Awards. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mods. And we'll see you very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks. Good night.
How are the lads and lasses?
Come back and check out the green.